Thank you. So, as a proper data scientist, I have two things with me. So I have my laptop, that's for my security. Laptops make data scientists secure. They keep them at hand all the time, day and night. And then I have my notes, which is your security, since I'm notorious in doing the lateral jumps. And if you feel that I'm getting severely lost from the topic, then just tell me and I'll look my note. Anyways, I'll try to excite you first, and then I bore you in the end with the corporate details if we have time. But you didn't have come all this way here to listen about our kind of number of employees and such things. But let's start immediately from the topic of today. So I kind of learned that this conference is about data innovation, and innovation is like it's not an invention. They are different things. So different things: innovation and invention, and then there is a new and there is a old. That's a distinction. Research and development. We are going to talk pretty broadly about these topics, and we go also close to the ML and AI later. Actually, currently we are in a situation in the solutions in our projects that there is data available, there is capability or capacity to measure things, create more data, and what is kind of the current ambition of the people doing these IoT projects is to make more sense of the data. For example, in this case, the device in question could somehow indicate that I'm not feeling that good, and then you might detect that and maybe send a serviceman or something like that for the field. And it is interesting or important to pay attention to the action part of this whole picture. So nobody really puts all that instrumentation in place just to gather the data or do some findings. They also need to do something about the situation. So that's in kind of nutshell what IoT is. And by the way, I do work hands-on with the IoT, so I'm not kind of on that high level of the abstraction. So we actually crank the data day in, day out, and there is not a week going by I don't write code myself. And by the way, about the audience, how many of you are in the kind of the domain business, so that you have the factory plant or something like that, and then you hope that somebody is cranking your data? So kind of, can you raise your hand? A few, so few from domain. How many from the ML or AI community, analytics? A bit more. So there's going to be new for everybody here. New things for everybody. So as we learned, knowing that we all came here and traveled and paid some attention to the affair or the conference, we came here. We know that the AI and ML is kind of hot topic, and there are many people talking about it. I'll handle the AI ML interchangeably here, since even if lots of heat and light has been emitted from the discussion, which is AI and ML, I'm not going to go there, since it's not going to add any value for this consideration. But anyways, people talk. Some people understand what it means. Some don't. Most of the people, including even the ML experts, don't always know what the AI is. So there's lots of expectations and lots of hype, which is usually good, since that directs attention, and attention creates business and so forth. But anyway, there are people talking. There are people getting very excited about the AI and ML, and that excitement oftentimes it kind of turns into strategies and those kinds of initiatives, which maybe are born on the board level of the company, CEOs, CTOs. It was 2 weeks ago I heard one CTO, whom I know from other kind of the personal relations. He was telling me that now he has the order from the CEO, do some AI, do some ML, and there he is now trying to figure out what to do. He's from the kind of service and repair part of the industry doing the service and repair for the different plants, food industry and what have you in Finland. And anyway, lots of hype. So it turns out on the strategies and the agenda of the people high up in the organizations, and that's why there are going to be strategic objectives to do AI. But as Linus Torvalds, the creator of the Linux, was rightly pointing out, it's the invention or innovation is about doing things, getting things done, which is highly tactical, doing sanity things, getting the blocks in order, and then you can go to the strategic time horizon when you learn to use the clicker, when you kind of do the homework, and then you can go to the longer game of the bigger investments and longer time horizons. And there, the biggest kind of hurdles are that innovation is about changing things. People, somebody said that the things are as they are since they either have value or somebody thinks that they have value, and people are pretty kind of aggressive about defending that possible value of things in place have. Anyways, now we mentioned that there is a lots of attention and lots of focus on AI things and machine learning things, data science interchangeably. And what happens, the domain experts, the company who run the business, they have had this task, and now they think that, okay, now it's time for me. There is a problem we have been trying to crack with all these domain experts for decades, and now these AI guys came in, and now we can just give the hardest problem we have faced so far and let them go figure. And this is actually the best scenario, that you have lots of details, possibly convoluted and complex. But the worst scenario is that you have very high level description of, say, go and fix my logistics, or very high level description. And it is high level since the people don't know what they know. They have been running that business for decades, and they don't even understand all the knowledge they have been accumulating over the course of those years. That's why they can't immediately kind of go and spit it out, and it's going to be hard for the AI people. Then, okay, you have given the hardest problem to the AI team. I usually work in as a capacity of the, for example, that guy there with a laptop, or one of these people here. Now we went to the wrong slide. And then again, lots of light and heat is going to be emitted about doing nice things, and you can do interesting things, and it's very entertaining nevertheless. And then the business owner there, I can't use this. Business owner and the guy kind of close. This one is the domain expertise holder. If I assume that this team is coming from the external company, it can come also in-house. It's the same thing. It doesn't change the dynamics at all. But the people who are kind of on the objective, they are kind of doubtful that what's gonna turn out of this activity. And basically, the one of the reasons of the confusion, and by the way, both are confused. Both the AI team or ML team is confused, since we don't understand the domain all that well, and then the domain people are kind of confused since they don't know our stuff, and then there's a little kind of overlapping skills which could host the discussion between the parties. You could think of it as a kind of, there is a research and development, as the title was saying. The research, oftentimes, it should provide or deliver inventions, and then the development should deliver applications or the kind of more practical things. So that way you can think of that, are you in the research or development square or bar in that sense, and then there is a domain and the ML. And I think the key here is to be systematic. It's very false kind of premise that invention and innovation is kind of all over the place activity. It is actually not. Usually it's very strict, and it's very systematic, and very focused activity. If you think about kind of deciphering the enigma during the World War and what have you, it cannot have been very spontaneous activity. Lots of stake in the game, and it has to be very focused. So systematic is one keyword. If we kind of think about live example, for example, if we would be drawn to the company which is developing medical applications or medical something, then the research of the domain would be kind of providing the medicine for the rare illness or diagnostic device or etc. Actually, diagnostic device could be in the development of the domain as well. But then in our kind of core field, the ML AI systems software, it would be, the research would be something like developing a new algorithm or approach for the ML problem, which we kind of approach occasionally, but we don't do that day in, day out. Actually, what we should be doing in the project is something like take the radiological or marker images and then segment the cells, see that, okay, here is a cell, here's another cell of the human tissue, and then we will do the thing which says that, okay, these are the cells, and then count them, for example, 4 of these kinds of and 17 of these other kinds. But our problem is that we don't know what the domain says about the numbers of those cells, since the numbers of cells don't tell anything to us. So that's why we need interaction between the domain people to make sense of what we did, and they actually need our counts to make their development. Of course, it can go also sideways, like we have been also in this kind of research kind of square, doing almost like a molecular things, kind of trying to understand the properties of the substances and compounds and things like that. But usually it's more like up-down dialogue with the teams. Anyways, that's that kind of a source of it's not really a source of confusion, it's source of understanding. So if you do it right, it's source of understanding. If you do it wrong, it's a great source of confusion. Then the other kind of dilemma in innovation is the old versus new. If you think about the business like some factory which is producing something, if you are up and running, you need a business, you need to have the measures of how good your plant is, instrumentation, existing systems and what have you. And with them you get to the current performance or some evolutionary small improvements occasionally. But now we already said that the ambition is higher, that somebody has said that the AI will gonna fix the hard problem, and now go figure. So the business is actually, business's line of sight is here towards the dramatic improvements, which basically means that they have to, or you have to think about the state of art of their own domain, since all the competitors are doing the kind of same old. So you have to master the domain. You have to also do the AI development, and from the business, looking from the business, it's hard to tell where the domain and AI kind of where the borderline really is lying. So the point is that you have to pick the square you are in and do that kind of together. Together is a punch word here. It's since we are in Sweden, I'm a Finn, we have been learning the way the things go in Sweden, and we've learned that it's a Swedish way to do the square selection together. And the benefit of that approach is that actually big portion of the persuasion work you have to do for the new things is about kind of going to those sociological kind of threat feeling the incumbent business owners are having on the kind of the dark side, and then the new one, since new is usually more fashionable, sometimes occasionally, and it gets some funding, it is cool, hip, whatever, and then the existing has to kind of defend the bases, and that's why there is a kind of this tension between the new and old, and kind of classical. Now while we are in Sweden, classical examples, one of them was that there was an old way to put the propeller at the back of the ship, the kind of the steamer kind of thing where the propeller is on the top of the water, and then the new one where the propeller is as it is nowadays. And there was a Swedish engineer which was inventing the propeller which goes the modern way, and there was a kind of cadre of kind of disbelievers which kind of were collected to the place where they knew that a test drive is going to take place, and they were just waiting that to fail, and everybody was so disappointed while the ship did what it was supposed to do, and the new thing actually worked. And independently in UK they also kind of did the same kind of experiment where they had a wooden propeller, the two leaves, and one of those leaves fell off, and actually then the velocity or the pace was improving. So there's a degree of uncertainty, luck, and things go the other way, that you get new knowledge in the research side. That was clearly a research. It was early development already kind of research of the state of art in the domain that time. Anyways, pick that together. All that tangent was having to do with how the people resist the new. Then the other tangent, talking about the lateral jumps, was that when the trains were new thing, people thought that if the train goes more than 60 kilometers an hour, people will suffocate since they can't breathe. Well, they didn't. But those kinds of doubts always stem from the new things. They might be right, and then they might be wrong. But what we now kind of more and more try to do is to make those worlds visible. And we have, give or take, 60 people, the industrial designers in our company, one of which was helping me. I told that my problem is to convey this message, let's do the pictures, and he was doing the pictures. They do the same for the companies, and that's actually good, since in that very kind of example you have to explain what you are possibly doing, and then creating the common understanding between the ML team and the domain team, what we are doing. And in this case, for example, if your objective would have been to make the tennis practice more kind of efficient in the urban areas, you could do the robot which has an arm, and then you have a robot with multiple arms and the cannon, and then you can have a virtual thing. And possibly this virtual thing would be most efficient, since you don't have for 100 players, you don't have 50 courts, full-size courts in the middle of Stockholm, and better even, you can collect the data from the both players, see how the interaction between the two human beings in the situation goes, and kind of start farming or harvesting your data. I actually yesterday learned from one kind of very clever guy who is running some big unit in current Nokia or Bell Labs. He was telling me that the farming and harvesting the data is going to be big thing, since then you get very deep in your domain, deep in your clientele. You get the very intimate data about how your clientele is working and acting in normal situations, out of which you can, with IoT, you can collect, with their consent of course, information and do things which are useful for the actual users, not think about what is useful for you, since that's very short-term benefit to concentrate on your gains. It's the end user's gain. I think Supercell is an excellent example about that kind of thinking. I know that there are business development people, like dozens of them, who always said that model doesn't ever work, and you can see the results. It did work, but it was not to be too greedy in the first and then phases, and then provide a great value, and then the ecosystem starts to run. But that is more or less it. Thank you for the I guess keen participation. But let's have a couple of questions while we still have a couple of seconds time.